Adhiambo. Odhiambo.
Video minutes.
Mute mic yako.
Hi everyone, Lucy, kindly let me know if you're on call.
Hi, Joseph, I'm on call.
I think then we can start, bearing in mind that it's 5 minutes past 6 and we have an attendance of 87 currently. Will you share the screen or should I help you in that?
Are you able to make me a co-host? There's something else, or let me just share with you, just in case I'm not able to share.
I have it already.
There's something additional. I don't know whether I'll be
Okay.
able to share it from my end.
Okay, no problem.
Sawa. Okay. Good morning. Oh. Good evening, everyone. All right. I think our number is slowly growing, and that is a good thing. So as I share my content with Joseph, maybe I'd like to welcome you all to this lesson for today. I'm happy to see you guys. So today's lesson, we're just continuing on where we started off on the world of work. I hope you guys are excited as I am. Maybe as we start, maybe someone can give me a recap of what we did last session. Anyone who wants to go first and tell us what they learned in the last session?
Maybe I can say something.
Yes.
Okay, we
Go ahead.
spoke about how to write a CV, if I'm not wrong, and
Yes.
the specific details.
Mhm.
And I remember somebody asking whether it's okay to put the experience of being a domestic help in the CV. And you answered that it depends with the job that
Yes.
you're applying for. So sometimes if some information is irrelevant to the job, you can choose to exclude it from the CV. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you. I think that's okay. Anyone else wants to go on what they learned last session?
Okay, for me,
Yes.
I learned that you should put on your CV relevant information, and then there's a way you can use your words to, for example, on the matter of being your example of being a waitress, you can put it in a way that it shows how you have some skills that are what zinaingiliana na that job that you're applying for, that are relevant to that job that you're applying for. So it depends with choice of words.
That's true. All right. Anyone else on something else other than their CV?
I learned that a CV should be short and precise, straight to the point. No need of putting in so many unnecessary information.
All right. That's okay. Anyone else on anything else that is other than a CV?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's related. I learned not to oversell yourself or put information that is probably not going to, they're necessary basically. Yeah.
All right. I can see Marvin is saying he learned that a cover letter is recommended to be handwritten with a signature at the end. The letter, that's okay. Anyone else? Josie, you want to say something?
And for me, I learned that before you write a letter, you have to ask her of him first.
Yes, that it is important that you communicate to your referee whether they are okay with being a referee for you, and also that in case they are okay, that you've put them in a recommendation and they might get a call about you. That's okay. All right. I think we are good. I'll be sharing my screen. All right. I hope you guys can see.
Yes.
All right. So the one thing that maybe I'd like to, we discussed, as we've said, about your resume, writing of your CV, writing of your cover letter, your referencing, and the importance of all these things and the various components. We say there are a number of things that are very important that you shouldn't lack in your CV. Maybe we say that you shouldn't lack your biodata, your education history, your work experience, and you also said about your career summary or your profile summary. That involves your career objectives and as well as your qualifications, a summary of your qualifications and your skills. Aside from that, for the cover letter, we said that you need to have your address. We said your salutation must be there. We said you give a subject that is relevant to what the advertiser has said. We also say that your cover letter should be brief, but very direct and also very enticing to your employer. Let them first introduce yourself. Let mention where you found out the advert from. Aside from that, also tell us why do you think you're relevant or you're qualified for this job? Jichoche in the second paragraph, tell them why you are best fit for this job. In the third paragraph, just thank them for the time that they have taken to go through your cover letter. And also you can highlight some of the things then you may attach. That is your CV and your certificates if you've attached anything else. You can also give them a contact information where they can reach out to you. I think that is for a cover letter, and at the end you can sign off with your name and your signature. That's why I say it's important to have it either handwritten, and if you've done it, if you don't have a nice handwriting like I do, you can print out your CV, your cover letter and sign it off to own up that the content that you've given is yours. For the referencing, we said that once we are doing the referencing, one, have you communicated to your referees? If you have, then that's good. You've done the first step. The next step is for you to write their names, the company they are working for, the title of their current job, and then their contact information. That should be in a separate page. But if your CV is not that big, you can add them as the last part, but ensure that is very clear. You may indicate the title referencing up. So what I'm going to do is, I'll just share with you two CVs so that maybe we can see whether you're seeing, you can tell me what you realize, what this person has done wrong, all right? Just note these are names of people that I've just thought of, numbers I've thought of. So they're not actual real people. I've used the names of or I've used my organization of where I've worked before in organizations that I'm aware of. So the content is actually not true. Sawa. It's just a mock to see the various types. And this is just the kind of CVs that I usually get on a day-to-day basis. And I want you to tell me from your end whether what this person could have done better and what you would recommend to make their CV look good. So I'm just sharing with you right now. All right. So this is our first CV. Mind you, I've just used, as I've mentioned, these are some of the things that I receive on a day-to-day basis. I've just made a replica of exactly Kenya nilipata for a job position I'd advertised for. The position was for a supervisor. So being that you're the employer, maybe someone can raise their hand and tell me what this person could have done better to make or get that past that first level. Some of the first level is to have the employer go through your CV. Rotha, I can see your hand is up. You can go ahead and tell me what this person can do better.
First of all, it's not visually appealing, so you can't even tell where the sections start. You just, for me, I feel like they could have worked on their font and everything else, even the layout, because you don't even know it. That's how, from just the first view.
Yes, so let me show you the rest so that you can also see. That is the rest. And as you can see, Rotha is right. You can see where she hasn't, or he, John is he. So John has not made an effort to show us the different places that the job starts or the subsection start. Someone else? Tobias, you can go ahead.
Yes, I can see like, hello?
Yes, you can go ahead.
I can see like on the, from the beginning.
Yes.
There's some information like marital status, religion, and date of birth, which may exclude him from even getting hired.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good thing. Thank you, Tobias, for highlighting that. I said some information, if it's not required for you to give in the job advertisement, do not include it. Sometimes you may be young, but you're qualified for the job, but because you're of your age, by the simple math, mtu atafanya hesabu zake aone, huyu mtu amefika, there are people when wamezaliwa 2000, that is someone that is 20 years old. But by the fact that saizi tunaona watu wameshafika 2000, unaanza kujiuliza huyu mtu ako na experience ya kutosha, unaanza prejudge. We are still going away from judging people without seeing them, but we are human. So avoid including those unnecessary details. Yeah? Don't include it if the employer has not asked you to include it. Ian, you can go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to say what Tobias has said, but I will add on to the career objectives part.
Yeah.
He has used like words such as honesty, integrity, faithfulness. There are words that have become so common in that the employer or the recruiter or the HR, the person who's looking at the CV, they'll want something that if at all they want to like state it in that way, they can state it using like other different words that don't seem common. Like words like integrity are words that everyone uses. So you can imagine like if I'm a HR person and I'm going through 100 CVs and everyone has stated that they have integrity, they have honesty, that is something which obviously kicks you out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Ian. And I think that's okay. And I think everyone gets the point here that in some way, integrity, honesty, and faithfulness all communicate the same thing. Do not focus your energy on one point. Speak about your skills, speak about your attributes that make you unique. Also go ahead to include those qualifications and skills that are relevant. Yeah? Let me just go down so that you can see what has this person done in school. Let's see. This person has done, wow. This is the kind of trouble I have going through CVs. So this person has learned sociology, has paramilitary training. This is someone who's gone through the NYS, firefighting, first aid. Those are things that they would have included in their career and their profile summary, and would have sold out very well. Yeah, especially if they're looking for something security related, if they're looking for a training position that involves firefighting and first aid, those are things that would have sold out very well. I can see Marvin, you can go ahead. Let me just run through again so that you can see.
Okay, one of the errors I've spotted is there's so much grammatical error, especially from up we see there's no spacing between words in personal profile, in skills and the skills and so you see like there's so much grammatical error, and also there's no the way someone before me said it's not visually appealing. There's no dedicated font size for maybe the titles and maybe for the lists and all that information. So it's just jumbled up together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
thank you. Right. Thank you so much, Marvin. I think that is very, very well. That is good for noting that. We see the numbering. This person, we don't even realize that akona career objectives kando, akona personal profile kando, afu anasema administration. We are not too sure where the administration comes in between. We have skills and abilities. I think this person was just trying to create a profile summary, but then just broke down everything at a go, but did not bother to highlight these things. Maybe the last thing, I'll give Muthoni and Patrick for you guys to look at another CV that I'll be sharing. So let Laura just speak.
I also want to talk about the profile summary, which will be.
Oh, you wanted?
Yes, I want to say last class you said you introduced the concept of the profile summary, which will be after the bio data.
Yes.
So to save time when the HR personnel doesn't have time.
Yes. Sawa. Laura, you want to say something else?
I'd like to say that they did not quantify their achievements or abilities. You had mentioned in the last class that it's important for you to quantify your achievements, maybe by saying, I was able to reduce downtime, or I'm able to, type at a certain speed to distinguish you from other candidates.
Yes, that's very true. So I think that is also well noted. Patrick?
Okay, in the career objective section also, we can see that this guy, that the way he has explained his career objective is not, he's not using, that word is not, he's not using the right English, I think so. Because you cannot work with integrity, honesty, and faithfulness, bringing the best out of any effort, thereby obtaining a responsible and challenging position. So you see that word, responsible and challenging position, I think it's not the right word of English to use, that kind of scenario.
Yeah. And that is why I say, thank you, Patrick. And that's why I said it's important when you do your CV, you get someone else to go through it so that they can see those things that you think make sense to you. They might not be appealing to someone else. So I'll have us look at the next CV. This is how my next CV looks like. This is we talked about a CV having a picture. So this picture your face on this whited part, this part, then you can see they have their contact information. They have a profile that is over here. They have included the languages. I'm assuming the white highlights to the level of proficiency. You can see they've highlighted their skills and their employment history. We have a look at that. We can go down. We see they've also included their hobbies. Then we can go down. We can see more of their employment history. We can see their education background and their references. All right, you can see that. Now, I want you to Now, because we've already identified some of the weaknesses in our original CV, I want you to relate the two CVs or compare the two CVs. We say there is no perfect CV or there is no defined format, but we say there are important components that are required to be there. So what is the difference, or what makes this one different from the other one? Stephen? Steve? All right, I think Steve can't hear me. So we can go to John.
I think this one is more orderly. Like the employer can get what they want immediately. They look at it, they're scrolling. But I also think it's very, very, very lengthy. So maybe they could like try to shorten it a little bit to include the things that are most important according to the job description.
Right. Thank you, John. We can see Harold. Harold, can you hear me? Sorry, are you guys still able to see my screen? Okay. Daniel. Daniel, maybe you can speak up.
I think the difference between the first and the second CV is the first, they have typed their CV. So, but this, the second one, is like they went to a certain website or an app. Then they fed the information. Then the app or the website developed the CV for them.
All right. And then I think that that's a difference. Yeah. And we said when it comes to apps or formats that people use for their CVs, we say that it's important that people personalize it. So I think the important thing here to do is, have you personalized your CV? Is your CV speaking more of you, or is it really just a format that is, again, everyone can find? And I think but as long as your CV looks visually appealing, that's the first step. Then that person is able to go through and have a look at it, yeah? But do not just use a format without personalizing it. Even, I don't know whether right now you can be able to hear me. Okay, I think he can't. Brian.
First thing first, I really I like the CV. I don't know whether it's because it's nicely presented. The guy he must have been a creative guy. Even if someone said that it's like he used a template or something like that, but I think me personally, this one is good. It's good.
All right.
It's a space, and there's economy of space. Like there is, even if it is too, you can imagine if the sidebar information was presented, it could be a lengthy one. But I think he has tried to ensure that even if it is detailed, the information is in a place that, and it's user friendly. You can easily go through it
without struggling. Yeah, that's true. I think we can all see, at least it's not as lengthy as we would want to think of it, since it's only 3 pages. Yeah, so I think it's average. But again, I said we do not have, depending on your skill set or your experience, either CV cannot be too lengthy or too short, right? Because as long as your information that you've included there is relevant, then your CV is okay. Sawa. Michael, you're the last person since we need to go into today's topic.
The CV is nice, but for me, it's a question that I've posted on the comments. I've asked when an employer is looking for a professional, they usually go to LinkedIn, right? So there is usually your picture. So won't it make it redundant to have a picture in your CV and in your profile on LinkedIn?
All right. I said last time, for me, on a personal level, I do not encourage us to use our pictures because, again, we said humans, we still remain humans, and we can be biased. Or biasness can be provoked by the picture or how our picture looks like. So I would really not encourage for us to have our pictures there. But then again, if you choose to have it, let the same information flow through to your LinkedIn profile so that if someone decides to log in and look at me, they will find the same information that the Lucy that is on the CV is a Lucy that is on LinkedIn. But again, not everyone goes through or takes the time to go through the candidate's LinkedIn profile unless you have been shortlisted for the final interview.
So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes. So I think we can all appreciate the creativity or the time the person. Stephen, I don't know whether you can hear me and you want to say something. I do not want to leave you out. All right. Sawa, let's just go. And as said, I think we can all appreciate the creativity that this person has taken time to do their CV. Despite the fact we can see this format, maybe you've seen it somewhere else, at least they took the time to do their CV. Unlike this other person who just typed in everything that they could think of. Kama anafikiria ni skills, akona communication skills. Anaandika communication skills. Kama ni nini, anaandika. So I want us to take time to do your CV. When you do your CV, you do it with pride so that whichever place it lands, whichever hands it lands on, then this person will be happy looking at it. Yeah. So remember, your personalization, your format is very important because again, we would not even hata nyinyi mshachoka kuangalia ile ya kwanza bila hata kuangalia content ilikuwa isha kuchosha. So this is the same thing the interviewer will be feeling. All right. So we'll be going through today's lesson is very important, very much linked to your CV. We say that the first step for you to first get into an interview is first to have your CV looked at. And imagine we've gotten our CV looked at, and now we've gotten that call and you've been told, good morning, Brian, or you received that email, Brian, good morning. We are pleased to invite you for an interview with Makutano that is going to take place on this and this date. At this time, the venue is this and this. So today we are looking at those interviews. How is this interview? How are you going to make it through the interview and into the job? Or through the first level of interview into the second level of interview? Right, let me just share my screen. Right, so the goal of this lesson today is to ensure that at the end of this lesson that we are able to prepare for a successful interview, and at the end of it tutapata that job. And then today we'll be looking at what is the purpose of an interview. We'll look at the types of interviews that are there. That we know we have a number of interview types, but those ones that you are commonly likelihood of you interacting with that kind of interview. Tutaangalia pia, how do you present yourself in an interview? How do you prepare for an interview? I know these are things that we've gone through in class or maybe in high school because there are a lot of things that we have had over and over again. But then I want us to really think of them and see through them. We'll look at a few questions. I'll give a practical question so that at the end of this, we hear your responses. So that we can, if your response is, we want you to add something, then you can learn from that. So I want you to be very open to answering these questions. Assume you're in your interview setting, how you present yourself. Then you won't get the exact same way. So I want everyone to be very keen because nitaita anyone ndio tujue kama kila mtu anasikia. Nikisema Kimberly asikuwa aliweka simu na akaenda zake. All right. So one, we say the purpose of an interview mostly is just a one-on-one conversation between you and your employer and an employee. And an interview is not only done through for a purpose of you getting a job. We have other settings where an interview may be used. But in this case, we're just referring to the essence or that situation where you are looking towards getting a job. So it gives an employer an opportunity to learn about your skills, your abilities, and the knowledge you have for this job. Have you learned enough? Do you know what you're up for? Do you have the right skills? It also gives the employer an opportunity to learn about your personality and your character and your interests. So you see, your CV has already said or highlighted some of your skills and abilities. It's told us about your education. But then now we want to see what's your personality. Because again, we cannot see your personality through your CV. I will only learn about your personality through interacting with you. For example, I'll know that Barbara is a jovial person when I talk to her, or I'll know that she's a jovial, she doesn't or she can communicate well if I ask her a question. That's how I'll know whether she has good communication skills or what her interpersonal skills are like. How does she relate with people? Through an interview, it's the only chance that I'm able to learn such kind of things. I'll also be able to see what's her response like to stressful situations. Maybe, for example, if I asked her a question that was extremely out of the blue, not related to anything, what's her response like? How is she able to think? Is she able anaweza fikiria haraka na critically at the same time and under pressure? Yeah, because I mean, in an interview, you're already under so much pressure to get a job. You're very nervous, and during the first few seconds when you're being asked questions, the interviewer you're already very nervous and under pressure. So those are the things the interviewer will be looking towards seeing. But then what are your expectations as you, as an interviewee? You will be able to show the employer that you're a good fit for the job. Because again, we say that the resume only does a small part. Then you're given an opportunity to speak out the rest, to showcase your skills. That a person doesn't actually look they may not be as presentable as they've done their CV. For example, maybe CV appealing we looked at, that person might not have the same level of skill set like the first other person. Maybe when it comes to communications, the CV1 is able to communicate better. So that is the opportunity that an interview gives you. Then for you as an interviewee, the interview also gives you an opportunity to have a feel of what the organization's culture is. You're able to feel the environment that the organization has created. That is, ukiingia the first thing, what did you feel? What is the atmosphere that will scare this organization? Was the receptionist customer friendly? Was she rude? Was she dismissive? That impression that she gives you also gives you a feel of how the general organization is like. So generally, that is just the reason why we do an interview. Yeah. And then we're going to look at the types of interviews. These are the kind of interviews that you're likely most probably going to go through. Some of them you may not encounter them, especially for entry-level jobs. But as you grow in your career, you'll have an encounter with some of them. The most common interviews, especially now that we have really limited interactions between me as an individual, face-to-face, that is, individual interviews that we do, zimekuwa very limited. Unapata we first do a phone interview. I'll give you a call, talk to you, and then afterwards I'm able to find out, are you a fit for the next interview, or we can just cut it at that. So that's the first type of interview tuko nayo. It's called a telephone interview. Sometimes the telephone interviews are very brief. So once you have a situation unajipata unafanya the phone interview, you need to be very brief and factual, and also very direct to highlight your key skills, key qualifications, and have your CV at your fingertips, so that whichever thing you ask, you're able to answer ASAP. Because most times, time inakuanga very kidogo sana ya phone interview. So you need to really just present yourself vizuri. The next type of interview we have is a virtual or a remote interview. These are the interviews now that we are conducting either via Zoom, video conferencing, Skype, Teams. These are the kind of interviews I encounter during this corona period. I've had several of them. And this kind of interviews mostly zinafanyiwangwa, especially if the interviewer and the interviewee wako separated by distance. For example, right now, ulikuwa scheduled for an interview here in Nairobi, but you are locked down ama ulifungiwa na Embu ama tuseme Embu, hauwezi kuja. What is the other alternative that the has for you? They'll choose to have a video conferencing. And when you find out that you're going to have a video, to ensure that you need to ensure that you have your internet connectivity is okay. Your internet connectivity is okay, that the phone that you're using, your mic is okay, that you have earphones so that you're able to hear vizuri. All these things, do a pre-test. Kwanza kama ni video, chukua video, omba simu ya mtu kama yako ni mbaya, omba simu, do a practice. You can do a video call with your friend so that they can tell you, anakusikia vizuri. Kama ni mahali kwa nyumba hakuna internet, unaweza find out which is the best spot. Ensure you're also in a very quiet place so that the interviewer doesn't have to keep asking you to maybe repeat or asking you to be louder. You know, we have such kind of situations, and they can be very tiring at times. And sometimes the interviewer anaweza choka tu aseme, let's just finish this off and go to the next person. Kwa sababu you can imagine if your internet iko mbaya kila time anakwambia, hi Steve, hi Duncan, sikusikii vizuri, rudia. It becomes very tiresome. Inakuwa inachosha sana. So do a pre-test for all these things. The next set of interviews we have a panel interview. A panel interview is where you have two or more interviewers sitting in the same interview. Most probably, sometimes when you're having an interview, you might find that you're having just a one-on-one interview with one person, and then maybe you have another interview with two or more people. Most commonly, we have a panel interview having 3 people or 2 people. Mostly it's 3 people, so that in case 2 of you do not agree to something, or one person does not agree to someone, they're able to make a right judgment. It becomes easier to make a judgment on a person. Unajua, when you have an even number, decision making saa zingine inaweza kuwa challenging. Maybe watu wawili wamekubali, wengine wamekataa wawili. So mnabaki at a stalemate. So that's why you'll mostly find odd numbers in the panel interview. This is the most common type of interview that you will encounter. The other type of interview that we will encounter is a group interview. This is is similar to a panel interview where you'll have a number of panelists, and then you'll be a couple of you in the interview. For example, you might be 5 people that you're sitting in the same interview. Then in these group interviews, the one thing that you really need to ensure that when you find yourself in this situation, need confidence. Your confidence is key during this interview because it will determine whether you will be able to present yourself in comparison to the others. Because this kind of interview, you'll be judged against other people that you're sitting with in the interview. For example, if your communication skills, if you're a bit shy or your voice is really not audible, this puts you at a disadvantage because if someone else is able to vocalize and speak out louder than you are, then you find yourself, the panelists will pay more attention to that person as opposed to you. So during this, confidence is important and your communication is also very important. We have another set of interviews, that is the stress interviews. This kind of interviews is where the interviewer presents a number of stressful situations so that they can assess how you're able to deal under pressure. For example, anaweza kuuliza, kwa nini ulitoka kazi yenye ulikuwa ulipeana? You see, this kind of things, No, I think this, but we had a case about this company. Were you not involved in this company? So you find yourself that you're being under stress because one, you're in an interview, you're looking for a job. The other thing is that you're also trying to make yourself relevant and to prove yourself. So presenting confusing or stressful information to you makes you under pressure to prove yourself. Yeah. So basically what you need to do during these kind of stress interviews, compose yourself, just relax, breathe in. You can just breathe in your head and then answer to the best of your knowledge. During these situations, it doesn't require for you maybe to answer correctly. It just needs for you to be composed and confident in what you're saying. Yeah, if you do not understand anything or you're not too sure of anything, you can confidently tell the interviewer that I was not involved in that. Maybe it's an NYS saga. Wacha tuseme ni NYS saga. During my work employment or during my time in NYS, I was not involved in that. I do not have any connection to that. And my work was not in any way related to that saga. That way, you are confident of what you're saying. You are also not lying, but you have no information. For example, if they ask you, who were the people involved in that during that, and you do not have any information, you can just say, at the moment, I do not have the right information for that, but once I do my research, I'll be sure to let you know. See, that way you've just confidently and calmly composed yourself and given them feedback. All right. We have competency-based or structured interviews. These kind of interviews are designed to test one or more skills. That is, maybe the interviewer will have a number of structured questions that they'll be asking to every candidate. Maybe they can ask a question on customer service. They can ask a question on teamwork, on interpersonal skills, on your leadership skills. Then they're able to gauge how you're able to answer in those kind of situations. They're just looking to understand what are your skills like, what are your communication skills like, what are your interpersonal skills like. Yeah. So this will be structured or they will be consistent throughout to the rest of the candidates. Sawa. These are just but a few, but are mostly what you'll encounter for entry-level positions. We have a number of them, but if you have a question for this section, then I'd be happy to answer. I can see, Michael, your hand is up.
Yes, thank you. The group interviews, are the answers based on who answers first, or are they directed to individuals?
It depends. with what the interviewer is looking for.
Okay.
But mostly they would like to see how you behave in a group setting. Are you organized, or you will just be randomly someone that just shouts out whatever they think is in their head? See, that kind of just answering inakuonyeshana hauna mpangilio, si ndio? Just you don't have respect for structures, or you do not have respect for your colleagues or their opinions. It just depends on what the interviewer is trying to look for. But sometimes they might ask just for everyone to answer, or they might direct that question to an individual. So it depends both ways. But in whatever sense that this happens, it is important to maintain your discipline, to maintain your confidence, so that if a question has been asked and you think you have an answer for it, just raise your hand, answer, and then you'll be given an opportunity to speak. Because again, watu wenye wanajibingi tu wanaonekananga kama watu viherehere sana. And sometimes that might not be a good thing. Brian?
I have a question. Wouldn't it be better to convert virtual interviews to written interviews? Because again, there's the digital divide in our country, and then there's the issue of power. Sometimes KPLC disappoints. So wouldn't it be better to give alternatives to interviewees, that if you're not capable of giving virtual interviews, you can do written? I mean, in any case, the answers have the same purpose.
No, the answers do not have the same purpose, because in a written, you're given an opportunity to think through. Yeah, you're given you have an opportunity. Maybe you can do your fast research, and we do not know whether you'll have help in doing it. But a virtual one, it's just similar to a face-to-face interview. Is similar to a face-to-face interview. Since for now, imagine I'm having a virtual interview with Byron right now. I can see what he's doing. I'm able to see whether he can hear me correctly. I can see his responses. Yeah, those ones I'm able to get natural reactions to questions, which you will not get in a written interview. So if you find yourself that you have such kind of situations, that's why I said prepare ahead of the interview. You prepare, ensure your laptop is well charged. You have a backup in case something happens. But then again, they will not take 45 minutes. They'll take at most 20 minutes. Ensure the device you're using can last up to 20 minutes. Sawa sawa.
So what happens to people who have slow speech? Let's say maybe speech disorders and such. Are there any considerations put in place to not to disadvantage such people on account of their disabilities?
You see, once you have such a situation, it's important that you communicate to the interviewer that this and this, I have slow speech, or I have this and this, that I need more time when it comes to the interview. That way the interviewer is well aware of what to expect. Then they will also set aside enough time for you to express yourself. They'll set aside enough time for you to be able to go through all the questions that are available without disadvantaging you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Brian. I think we can go to the next one. We do not have any other questions. Now we are preparing for an interview. You have done well. You've done a good CV. You have prepared, and you have been called in for an interview. What do you do? How do you prepare for that interview so that you ensure that everything goes well? Yeah. How do you make sure that everything is going okay? One, you know your resume. Yeah. For example, if you remember, we say that we spend, when we are doing or sending out our applications, we record them somewhere. This is where this comes in handy, because we said again, your CV is being customized to the application that you're making. So know your resume, know the resume that you sent out. Usikue ile resume ume present ama yenye unaenda kupeana inatofautiana na yenye ulikuwa ushatuma the first time. So know what you sent out, align to what you sent out, so that in case you are asked any question, it does not have any disparities. Because once it has any disparity, then it will create or it will bring in some integrity questions, which we do not want to happen. Yeah. So know your resume. What you shared, is it the right? Is it what you still have? If what you shared, do you still have it available? If you do, print it out or make it available as well. Then the next thing you do is do your research. You did you applied for a job, for say is a sales job. Do your research on this company. What are the products they're selling? For example, let me use Centum, the company that I work for. We are a wide-ranged company. Sometimes the group itself may advertise for a position, but they have clearly indicated that it is for a subsidiary under Centum. So if you find yourself umesomea Centum instead of reading for that specific subsidiary, let's say it's Centum Real Estate, umesomea Centum Investment peke yake, haujasomea Centum Real Estate ambayo ndio inakuajiri kama sales executive. Unapata you're confused and you do not look like you know what you're applying or the role that you're applying for ni gani. Yes? Ama you applied for a sales executive, but you're not too sure what products you're going to be selling. And mind you, this information is usually provided for in the job advert. They will say they're looking for a sales executive that is able to sell real estate products, that is able to sell what do we say? That is able to sell kuna private equity. Yes, they are able to sell investment products. Then you're aware of what you're applying or what you'd applied for. The next, decide on what you're going to be wearing. Ensure what you're going to be wearing is something that you're comfortable in, something that is professional, that is formal, and it's not it doesn't bring any type of confusion. Because once your look brings in some questions, it draws attention from the objective of why you're here for the interview. So in deciding what you're going to wear, again, kuwa na mtu watatu mwenye atakwambia hapana, hii inakaa kama uko hivi na hivi, hivyo. That is what I'm talking about. As long as what you're wearing is comfortable, it means you will not have to think about your dressing when you're in the interview. Utakuwa tu focusing on kenye utaongelelea. Be on time for the interview. One, how do you ensure you're on time for the interview? You know the location, estimate or get the distance between where you're living and where you're going. For example, the area saizi prices zimepanda ama magari zimekuwa kidogo sana. Yeah? If it's going to be during the rush hour, the places that have traffic, ensure you do your estimate ahead of time. If you find out that kuna kwanga na traffic in that time, ensure you're there or you leave your house an hour earlier. You'd rather wait for the interviewer than the interviewer waiting for you. Then make your travel arrangements, especially if you're going to be doing your interview away from your comfort zone or away from your locality. Yeah, make your travel arrangements mapema. The other thing is prepare and pack your resume. One, we say practice ahead of the interview. What do we mean by practicing? By practicing, we say you have your small sister, you have your cousin that is with you. You can sit down with them. Mwambie akuulize maswali. kuna zile general questions that unajua utaulizwa kwa interview. For example, tell me about yourself. That is something that you know you will definitely be asked. You'll definitely be asked. So you can prepare. You can speak. You can say it aloud to someone that you're with. They can tell you hapa you are nervous, hapa you unafaa reduce kidogo ama umeongea sana, ama you can cut down on saying this and this. Then it gives you a feel of what you're going to be saying. Again, it also helps you reduce your nervousness. Kama ushawasema kitu mbeleni, kuisema tena inakuwa rahisi kuliko kusema mara ya kwanza. Ya pili, ya mwisho ni prepare and pack your resume and certificates. Sometimes your employer may, out of the blue, just tell you, do you have some of these certificates with you? Maybe you said you have a degree in psychology. They'll ask you, can you share, do you have one of your certificates with you, so that you can prove that you actually did this? Yeah, maybe umesema uko na a certificate in criminology, which is not actually true because maybe haujamaliza, but ulishasema you have a certificate. They'll ask you, can you share with us your certificate in criminology? Hapo sasa unashikwa kama ulikuwa ushadanganya. So pack whatever is necessary, whatever you've included in your resume, pack it and ensure it's somewhere that, hata for example umeamka umechelewa, unakumbuka ulikuwa ushaweka nguo zenye unavaa na umesha pack, hapo ni kuoga na kutoka. Unachukua kila kitu unahitaji. Yeah? So it's that easy to prepare for the interview. Yeah? For the day before. After we've prepared for our interview, or before we go to the next one, is there anything someone wants to add? Tobias?
Actually, I thank you for the presentation. I have a question. What if you have been applying for jobs, then coincidentally you are shortlisted the same day to go for an interview for 2 different jobs? What do you do?
That's okay. It's a good thing if you're shortlisted for 2 jobs in the same day. It means then you're doing very well. The one thing is you communicate to your interviewer. You can ask and find out, am I able to reschedule my interview to later in the day, especially if they're at a close range? If they're not at a close range, you can find out whether you can reschedule it to another day. Again, wasipoweza ku reschedule to another day, then unaweza request to have it virtual, such that if you're doing one interview that is ending at 11, sorry, is that my, there's some noise. Joseph, maybe you can help me mute that. Okay. Okay. For example, if they're not able to reschedule for another day, then you can ask for a virtual interview. You have a lot of options that you can give. We said you can ask for rescheduling for another time so that you can see whether you're able to make it through. You can reschedule to another day, and if those 2 options are not available, you can request for a virtual interview, so that we ensure kama uko na laptop, unaweza charge up that laptop immediately you're done with one interview, then you can do the other interview as a group. But then again, if the options are not many, just weigh in your options. See which one is a best fit for you, which one you have a better shot at, then go for that one. Yeah, we can have, yeah. Brian?
Mine is a question. On your point about doing the research on the company, what if the company is a startup? Let's say the company is new in the market, or maybe it's a franchise that has landed in the country. What do you do, given that startups do not have much to write about?
They don't have much information that they can provide.
Yes.
Yes. So what you do is you can just go through the job advert that they provided, and you get to find out what the role is, and you can also find out what their expectation is. That will at least give you a feel of what this person, what your day-to-day job activities will be and what you're likely to be asked. Again, you can also, if you're not able to find out much about the company and you ask something in relation to it, you can always mention to the interviewer. For example, I ask you, tell me what information you have about Makutano Limited. And maybe Brian has never heard of Makutano Limited because it's a company I've made up in my head. Then you will tell them, in my research, I did not find much information relating to Makutano Limited, but I know it is a company that was started in this year and it is dealing with this and this. That is the information that I have at the moment. Then it shows that the interviewer that you at least took time to find some information on it. Yeah, you at least took time to find some information about Makutano. Sawa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Sawa.
you.
So then we can go next. We can look at during the interview. Then you've prepared for the interview. Na siku ya interview ishafika. What are the do's and don'ts that we are not supposed to do and what we are supposed to do? One, we said you need to dress appropriately, and I would assume this is not going to be a problem because you have already pre-packed and you've already pre-selected your clothes the day before the interview. Then you can ensure that your body language, maintain positive body language, maintain your eye contact, good body posture. For example, what would you say if you're interviewing someone and this person is always looking, anaangalia chini, hata haezi kujibu akiwa amekuangalia? Then it means this person is not confident, this person is not too sure what they're saying, or they're really shy, you see. Then it really puts in a kutoa marks up. Yeah. The other thing is your body posture. Maybe if you have your arms folded, what does that mean? It means maybe you do not want to be asked a lot of questions, or you're rigid. You see, those are the kind of things that your body's posture speaks about you. And I would encourage that you go through some of the non-verbal communication skills that you have been taught in class, and as well as some of them that you can find on Google. Those ones that speak out the best in you, and those ones that are limiting. Yeah, especially say the folding of hands, looking away from your interviewer. What else? Maybe stamping your feet. Those kind of non-verbal communications speak a lot. The other thing is be honest, be yourself. Don't struggle to be someone else because you won't be able to keep up. When you're honest, you just flow because you're not struggling to make up anything in your head. Stay optimistic or stay positive. When you're optimistic, it cheers you up for the job, and it gives you confidence that this job might actually be yours. The other thing is, we said you arrive on time, 10 to 15 minutes earlier, so that in case you're there early or ahead of the rest, na kuna mtu amechelewa, it gives you an opportunity to actually go fast. We have a situation where interviewer mwenyewe amechelewa. Maybe interview ilikuwa ianze 9:30 but imeanza saa 4. Na ule mwenye alikuwa afike hiyo saa 3:30 pia amechelewa. You see, now it gives you an opportunity as Trish to go and start off the interview and finish off mapema, so that maybe if you had that other interview that you were scheduled for, then you'd be able to rush to it. The other thing is, take at least 2 copies of your resume, so that in case the interviewer does not have a copy of your resume, you'd be able to provide them with one. They'll be able to keep one at least, as well as your certificates. They are very important. It keeps you at the top of their heads. For example, kama kila mtu amesahau kuleta CV yake, but wewe ndio umepeana, and your CV is actually very presentable, this person will be very, okay, sawa. I told you the first time I got my first job. I just went for an interview that I was not invited for, but I made sure that niko na CV yangu na certificate zangu pamoja, such that when I got that opportunity to go into that interview, niliwachia CV yangu. Na hata kama sikuwa kwa hiyo shortlist yao, waliweza kubaki na some information about me. Okay, be confident. Whatever you're speaking, speak out with confidence. If you're not too sure about something, say, mention that you're not too sure about it. Yes, and speak with confidence. Confidence lets this other person also have confidence in you. Because, for example, if I'm confident about what I'm saying right now, you believe me. But if I was speaking nikisema it makes you doubt what I'm saying. It makes you, as my listener, doubt my level of knowledge on whatever I'm trying to communicate to you guys. The other thing is, I'll finish off first with the do's, then we can go to the don'ts. So your enthusiasm, your energy, your humor, provide some positive energy. It really creates a good environment even for the interviewer, because sometimes when I interact now, a lot of people that are just very serious, very nini, it becomes stressful in a limit venye mtu anakuona. Yes, I don't know whether you understand what I'm saying. Yani, compare listening to someone that is positive, someone that is energetic, to someone else who is just reading through their resume. You'll prefer this enthusiastic person because you'll assume this is the kind of energy that they'll be bringing to their work experience. And surprisingly, these tips sikuambi kitu yenye sija practice. These are the things that I practiced during my interview. During my first interview, I was very, what would I say? I was very free. I was very relaxed. I think it's just because I wasn't invited and I had invited myself that it made me feel it's just either I get in or I don't. Yeah. And that is the kind of mindset you need to have, that sometimes you can get the job and sometimes you may not, but you're here to get the job. So give it your best. I was very energetic. Hadi, that lady was just like, okay, just tell us more. Just tell us, what else do you like doing? It was more of a personal conversation than an interview. That's what the environment you want to create during your interview. The last thing is, when you get into the interview, greet your interviewer with a smile. But right now, don't give a firm handshake. We are not hatusalimiani siku hizi. But if we ever get back to that era of saying hi with a handshake, give a firm handshake. Presents your confidence. Inaonyeshana, this person is serious. Anajua kenye anafanya. And also be polite to that receptionist, that customer service rep who is there, who is welcoming you. Be polite and professional to them. Because for me, if that lady at the desk or at the reception did not allow me to go into that to that interview, I imagine I would not be here where I am today. Because if it was not the fact that I was very nice to her, that I was very polite to her, that she actually went in and spoke to the interviewers and told them, there's this young lady that is here. She was not called in, but I think you guys should give her a chance. And that gave me my job today. You know how being nice is important. Yes, now we are done with the do's. We look at the don'ts. For the ladies, don't wear too much makeup. Na kama huwezi chora eyebrows vizuri, usizichore. Be as natural as you are. You're beautiful as you are. Unless you're going for a fashion interview where you need to do, or you're going for a makeup artist interview, then you need to do your perfect makeup. But otherwise, if you're not too sure about doing some of these things, don't do them. Don't wear such a strong perfume or cologne, because sometimes you have interviewers that are allergic. Sometimes it might also make you uncomfortable. Don't do that. Don't bring your family or friends. Nata kama wamekusindikisha. Funny story, I had an interview, a candidate mwenye alikuja kwa ofisi. na aliletwa na babake. The surprising thing, I thought the dad was the one looking for a job, because during the entire time we were interacting, the young guy did not say anything. He did not speak out. He did not ask the kind of jobs that, he did not ask any question that related to a job. Babake ndio aliuliza zote. So I was like, okay, sawa. Na huyo mwenye mko na yeye ni nani? Akaniambia, this is my son, yeye ndio anatafuta kazi. And I was shocked. I told him, no, that's not the way you should do things. It's not for you to speak for him. And I also told the guy, it's not for your father to speak for you. It's for you to speak out, so that the person also hears that kona sauti na tunaweza kusikia. Sawa. We'll look at, also don't use slang language, because not everyone is familiar. It's not a formal language. Don't ramble. Just your answers should just be complete but brief. Don't just say, when I was going there, you also didn't hear what I was saying, because I was just rambling some things that hata mimi mwenyewe sijui. So if you don't know anything, don't say it. But if you do know anything, speak it out briefly and confidently. The more you say, the greater your risk of saying something that you could not say. Yes, that's true. Ukiongea sana, unaanza kusema vitu hazi make sense. Brief to the point. Don't be late. We've talked about this. And when the interviewer is speaking, do not interrupt. Let them finish their sentences, and then we can go through. You can ask whatever you want to ask, or you can even speak or respond to their questions. All right, I can see Brian, your hand is up.
I have a question. Let's say you are called for an interview, and the company that has called you is more or less a conglomerate. Maybe it's diversified. Let's take, for example, Centrum. Yeah, you don't know much about the investment arm, but you know about the CDN Bank. Wouldn't you relate CDN and investment to create what the interviewer is asking for?
Unless you are applying for a job that is under CDN, then you can use the information that you have on CDN. But if you have applied for a job, for example, on Tribus, which is a subsidiary of Centum, then your information about CDN will be relevant at the moment. So that's why I'm saying get as much information as you can on the organization that you're dealing with. Otherwise, ukianza kupeana stories za kampuni ingine yenye ina relate, interviewer ataanza kuona ni kama unawachezea tu.
Okay.
Sawa.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sawa. So we'll get to the next thing. We'll just do a few practice interviews questions. These are the most common questions that you get. But allow me to just let this be our last thing that we go through, because it may take some of our time, and I want us to just finish off. We can just run through them, and then we'll have 2 or 3 people just tell us, and then we can help them work on some of the areas that they need to. So the questions are: tell me about yourself. What are your strengths and weaknesses? How do you define being on time? Give me an example of where you set and achieved a goal. Describe a time when you handled a stressful situation. How do you resolve conflict? Why do you want to work for a company? And where do you want to be in 5 years? Those are the kind of questions utazipata. Tutazirudia na tuangalie venye tunafaa kuzijibu. And as a job seeker, how do you answer these interview questions? We said you take your time when answering these questions. Keep your answers short. Be honest. Don't lie. Give facts. If you don't have facts, just say that you do not have facts. You do not have the facts about them, and maybe say that I do not have the actual facts for this, but this and this is what I'm aware of. So when you don't have answers to questions you've been asked, as I've said again and again, don't discuss your personal life. When you tend to discuss your personal life, you tend to be moving away from what you're discussing, which is not your personal life, but you getting a job. Do not flirt. Whether you're a lady, whether you're a gentleman, avoid flirtation. It really does not portray you in good light. Tell stories when possible to demonstrate your abilities. For example, if you've had actual scenarios of encounters that you've had, just make your stories short. For example, you can say, there is one time I encountered a customer who was very rude. This and this, they had asked me, they had claimed that I stole this and this from them, but then this is how I handled the situation. I calmly talked to her, I explained to her what the occurrences were for that day, and then I went ahead to help her look for her purse. You've just briefly just given an encounter of what you'd gone through that also demonstrated your abilities to handle customers, your abilities to communicate vizuri. You've also highlighted in your story. When you're stamped, ask the interviewer to rephrase the question. That is, maybe for example, there is a question that they have asked, na hujaelewa vizuri. Just ask them to kindly rephrase the question, and they will do that, so that maybe you can be able to answer appropriately. Allow there to be silence sometimes, so that we can all calm down. Don't rush into speaking, Sana. Take your time, as I said again. For example, if you've been speaking for some time, you can just take a minute, breathe, and then go ahead to continue. That way it gives an interviewer time. Sometimes they may be recording what you're saying. Na ukiongea sana, kwa haraka tena sana, anapata hataweza kurate vizuri. I say don't use slang words and pauses like yes, avoid such kind. The other thing is the qualities employers look for in a candidate. An employer will be looking to see what is your pattern of success like. What are your academic accomplishments? Have you been in leadership positions? Have you been involved in any activities? Were you rewarded for them? If you have, highlight those kind of things. For example, if you are awarded Employee of the Month at your previous workplace, highlight that. If you are given a certificate of recognition by your previous employer because of being a good customer service representative, highlight that. They'll be looking also to see your grades, yes, and sometimes your grades may not weigh in as much as your other skills may bring out. So don't be worried about that. But these are also some of the things that they'll be looking at. Your written and oral communication skills, they may require that you write maybe a sample something. They'll want to see how you write this. They sometimes send in some pre-interview questionnaire. A pre-interview questionnaire is a questionnaire an employer sends you a questionnaire that you're required to fill. And in this questionnaire, watakuuliza some brief basic questions to just get to know about you. They may ask you your salary expectations. They may ask you about your notice period. They just basically want to see what are your written skills like. Are you able to use applications such as Excel, Word? Because depending on the format wamekutumia, watarequire that tutawajibu in the same format. Sawa. They will also want to look at your related work experience. Have you been in such a work environment before? If you have, then make sure to highlight this during the interview. Your leadership potential. Sometimes this might be seen in a group setting, or even in the questions that they ask. They'll ask you to show a situation where you led a team or you are able to bring your colleagues together to perform a task. Then there wanatafuta leadership skills zako ama potential yako. They want to also look at your decision making and problem solving skills. So when you're confronted with a difficult situation, are you able to make a decision? Are you able to give a solution to something? That's something they'll be looking at. How creative are you? How intelligent are you? Creativity comes in when maybe you're given a situation. You're asked, give me a situation where you came up with an idea at your previous workplace and how that turned out. So they're looking to see, are you innovative? Am you're just comfortable at your work position and pick at that? Are you flexible? So they'll ask you a question like, for example, are you able to work at this and this place? If you do, It shows your flexibility. If not, then you're able also to tell that maybe you're not flexible. Are you able to work long hours? Hizo vitu ndio utaulizwa. Initiative and motivation somehow relates to your creativity, because your initiative is what initiatives have you taken to make the work that you are doing in your previous workplace ama in school make a difference. How enthusiastic are you? What's your energy level like? Those are some of the qualities that they're looking for. Your confidence, again, we say that this is something you really need to show when you're doing your interview. Your polished personal style, that's how you look, how you presented yourself, really says about you, gives a first impression of how you look. Your honesty, your ability to get along with others, that is to be a team player. For example, if you're in that group setting and you've been given a group task, how you relate with your fellow colleagues, itaonyeshana kama you're a team player ama hapana. Do you have a strong work ethic? That is how committed are you to your work. Kama ulitoka the previous, because sometimes the employer atakuuliza, why did you leave your previous workplace? Then utasema, watakuuliza, how did you leave your previous workplace? Then utasema, I just got tired of working in that place. It was a toxic environment and I just left. See, your work ethic there is questionable, because one, if you're going to leave your place, then you'll need to give notice. And you'll also need to communicate to the person you are working with. And if you do communicate, it shows that you respect your work and you appreciate the job that you're doing. Sawa? Yes, so those are some of the few qualities that employers may be looking for. This may not all form the basis of judgment, as in si kila kitu hapa itasema utapata kazi ama la, hapana. Different employers have different things that they are looking for, depending on the job category that they are working with. The other thing is, what are the reasons why you may be rejected for interview? These are just basically, if you do completely reverse of everything we have discussed, at least you can guarantee yourself hautapita. But ukifanya hizi zote zenye tumeongelelea, then you can guarantee that you can have at least more than 50% chance of getting the job. So again, I won't go through this, because again, if your communication skills are kidogo, kama present vibaya, kama confidence yako iko kidogo, kama your questions venye ulikuwa unajibu maswali yako pia si vizuri, then this brings a problem. I won't go through the rest, because again, I've said if you do completely reverse of what we've talked about, you can guarantee that hautapata kazi. But if you do at least some of the things that we've talked about, you can guarantee that you will. Okay, we are in our last slide. Very important and very useful. We talked about interview feedback and follow-up. What is the interview feedback and what are the follow-up tips that you can use? Follow-up is, for example, you have done an interview 1 week ago, you have gotten no response, ama you've gotten a response. How do you follow up? Yeah, one, you can choose to send a thank you email that is within 24 hours of having your interview. Be polite and brief. Sometimes it's really not necessary to send a thank you email unless you are very few you can actually send. But again, it's not a must do. It's just something that you would, if you choose to do it within 24 hours. The other thing is, if you're doing a follow-up email, if you don't receive feedback within the specified period that the interviewer had mentioned, for example, after umetoka interview ama umemaliza interview yako, some of the questions that you can ask the interviewer is, when do I expect feedback from you? Then they will tell you, you can expect feedback from us within 2 weeks or within a week. If 2 weeks goes by and you've not had any communication from them, then you can do a follow-up email, or you can do a text if the mode of communication was via email or text. Be polite, be courteous, just mention, you can just say, good evening, good morning. My name is Lucy. We had an interview on this and this date. I was just following up since I'm yet to receive any feedback on the interview. Then they will give you information on why maybe they've not finished up on the interviews, or if they finished up and they sent you an email na haujapata, then they are able to redirect it to your right email. Sawa. The key thing here to be is very polite and very professional. When this happens, it ensures that you are it encourages the interviewer to respond to you. So sometimes if someone is very rude and aggressive, you just turn off this other person that you're engaging. Anashindwa kudeal na wewe. Anasema, if that is how you're going to be, I don't think we should even have you as an employee. Sawa. Again, we should avoid making an unreasonable number of follow-up calls or emails. This portrays you as annoying. For example, if you do an interview today, alafu unanipigia kesho unaniuliza bado sijapata interview feedback. Unaweza nipea, and I told you specifically that you should receive feedback in a week. Then you become annoying. Then you become too persistent. Not bad to be persistent, but be reasonable. If you're doing this follow-up, ensure that you're doing them through the person that invited you for the interview. That is your point of contact for the interview. If my point of contact for the interview was Lucy, I will speak specifically to Lucy. I will not go and start a conversation with the managing director for a company and tell her that I did an interview on this and this date, na hawajai nipea feedback. See, then you're involving someone who was not even aware of the interview that you're doing. Yeah, so it's important to communicate to the person that you are in communications with. So assuming you do get your feedback, for example, you're told, congratulations, you are successful for the interview of a sales executive, and you're invited for an interview, for a second level interview. Well, how do you respond? You thank your employer, tell them, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm very grateful. I'll be looking forward for the next interview. You can ask some more information, whether there is anything that you need to carry along with you, and when the dates, if they've not included. But if you've gotten the job, you can also thank the employer, tell them that you're very happy to work with them. You can also ask them more information. Maybe you can ask when you're required to start, or any relevant information that relates to you working with them. Assuming sasa umepata negative feedback, how do you deal with them, with that kind of feedback? Again, it's also important that you thank your employer, because at least they gave you an opportunity to present yourself and showcase your skills. Thank them for the opportunity and the time that they took to have you and listen to you. Then go ahead and ask them maybe for the areas of improvement, maybe what you could have done better. And once they're able to share with you that, then it gives you a place to work from. That ukijua for the next interview, if you are not audible, maybe, for example, let's say you did not present yourself, your information vizuri, then you're able to reorganize your words to make them relevant for that job that you're applying. I think we're good. We are done. That's the final thing that we'll be looking at. You see, it's very simple to get feedback. It's basically how the conversation that you'd have with someone else, maybe with a doctor. Doctor alikwambia umpigie baada ya siku mbili results zako zitakuwa mmetoka, utampigia simu umuulize, habari daktari, naitwa Lucy, ulinihudumia siku iliyopita na kwa sasa sijapata results zangu, ningependa kujua shida iko wapi, ama results zangu kama ziko sawa, then atakupea results zako, ama atakwambia results hazijatoka kwa sababu ya hii na hii. Same case to an interview. Politely and professional. Then I know I said we'll go through some of these practice interview questions, but I see our time is far much gone. Far much gone. Maybe this is what we can start with in our next lesson. We can start with the practice interview questions so that we can also not rush into things and just do things mbio mbio sana. Anyone that has a question? Anyone with a question?
Hello.
Yes, Trish.
Well, it's not a question, but proposal.
Yes.
Is it possible to say in one of the classes that we are grouped into teams and we go through a group interview, or maybe, I don't know, mock interviews per se?
Okay, I think we can do that. We can see whether we'll have enough time to go through that, or to see what you guys have learned and whether you are able to apply what you guys have learned. We can see. We'll organize with Jane and Joseph and see how that can be arranged. John?
How do you handle a situation where you went to the interview, but the position might have been slightly above your experience, but the interviewer still wanted you to maybe come back for a position like an internship or something of the sort? So how do you go about now applying for such a position, an internship position instead in the same company?
So I'm assuming you got to the interviews and the interviewer said that they're recommending you for an internship, if I got you right, or?
Yes.
Are you going to go through another interview?
That's the thing. They just told me that I can do that later when I actually need to do the internship, but I don't know how to go about it. Do I still reintroduce myself and send my CV again, or do I remind them that they told me?
Yes, you can always remind them, because again, remember the company changes and people are not permanently stationed where they are working. So you can refer to the conversation that you had with them. Maybe you can say, you can introduce yourself. Say, I'm John. I had you went through this and this an interview. You were advised to apply for an internship, and you're attaching your CV and your educational certificates for the same. Your internship, when you'd like to start your internship, if there is any opportunity, you can state that. I think that will be a good place to start. Always introduce yourself. Do not assume that the person knows you because they interviewed you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Moses, you can go ahead.
Good evening, Lucy.
Evening.
I'm Moses from KU.
Yes.
During the questions about in the interview room.
Yes.
You mentioned about the importance of maintaining silence. I'm wondering, wouldn't it be somehow uncomfortable when there's silence in the room?
No. What I said is, you ensure sometimes it's good to take a breather. Don't take 5 minutes of silence. No, just a minute. Just breathe in, relax, and then go ahead. But usiongee sana juu unataka kusema maneno mingi at once, uongee zote consistently. Ni vizuri una provide a breather for you to relax and for the interviewer to catch up to what you're saying. Sawa.
All right.
Yes. Nancy?
So hi, I have a question regarding the day of the interview. What happens in a situation whereby you are unable to attend the interview when the interview has been scheduled? Maybe something comes up or you suddenly fall sick.
Then the important thing here is to communicate. For example, Nancy, you're scheduled for an interview on today, but unfortunately, the lockdown happens. You're locked out. You are locked out in Mombasa, and your interview was in Nairobi. How do you go about that? It's important that one, if your interview had communicated to you via email, respond to that email the moment you realize that you're not able to go for the interview. Communicate and ask that, unfortunately, I've been locked out of Nairobi. I am currently in Mombasa. I'm not able to attend the interview. Kindly advise if you can reschedule to a virtual interview, or if you're feeling sick, you can just say, I'm not feeling okay. Kindly advise if you can reschedule the interview to a later date. If there is an opportunity to reschedule, then that's okay. But sometimes you might find a situation where huwezi reschedule. So maybe it gives an opportunity for the employer to think about you in future. Ukikuwa kati ya opportunity tena ikikuja, anaweza kumbuka Nancy alikuwa tumemuinvite but hakupata opportunity. Sawa.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I think we are good. I do not want to take more of your time. And I think we've had a good session. Let me see if there is any question in the chat box. Whether they use the LinkedIn, which looks for the keywords that help you. We said if an employer, we advise that you use keywords that are used in the advertisement to make your CV more relatable to the system that the employer is using. If they're going to be using a system to read through the CVs, then your CV will be able to stand out. Could you clarify whether all CVs should be clarify whether all CVs should be ATS compliant unless asked to use a specific format. Again, this is what's her name? Wandia. You'd like to clarify on your question? Oh, okay.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you need me to clarify?
You said all CVs should be ATS compliant unless you're asked to use a specific format. It depends. Yeah. I think an ATS format, I think it's an Africa. Sorry, oh my God. Applicant tracking system. I said we use keywords so that in case they're using a system to track or to read through their CVs, then it can be compliant. You're able to read through. But again, if they've not specified, you can use whichever format that you're using. But again, we said kuna easy sites like the UN websites. They're really very specific on the kinds of CVs that you want. So do your background information and see what these people usually prefer. Sawa?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I think these are the questions. I think most people are asking to be added to the WhatsApp group. I think maybe Joseph or whoever is coordinating that will guide on that.
Okay, I think I had responded to that on the chat. So
Okay, so
mostly for all the invitation links to the classes, you'll be getting them through your mails. So make sure that you check your mails. That's a day before or on the day that you are to attend the class. If it's Tuesday, it's either Monday or very early in the morning on Tuesday. If it's Wednesday, if it's the Thursday class, it's either on Wednesday or very early on Thursday. So for the WhatsApp, that's a local arrangement between yourselves, and I tasked Wandia Wanja to do the coordination since she's the class representative. So for those who might want to be added to the group, to the WhatsApp group, kindly contact Wanja. But that's a local arrangement. It's nothing that we are doing from our end.
okay. All right. I think it's important when it comes to checking your emails. This is something you need to work on because since unatuma emails ama applications mahali pengi, usipoangalia interview email zako utapata you are invited for an interview and you didn't get a chance to attend. I think I'll take the last two questions from Wendy and Muzoni. Wendy, you can start.
Mine is not a question on the lesson. I'm just curious. Last time I attended the Thursday class, and then today I'm attending the Tuesday class. So do I really need to like stick to one day class if it's Tuesday or if it's Thursday, or depending on how convenient it is for me, or when I'm free, or when I get.
I think Thursdays and Thursdays are a repeat of Tuesday's class. So whichever you choose to attend, as long as they're in the same week, the content will remain the same. Muzani?
Yes, I wanted to ask about one of the questions that the employer will ask is to tell me about yourself. So I feel like it's a broad question. So I was asking if you can highlight on some of the main things you should say about yourself.
Okay. I think since that, as we said, those are the practice questions we'll look at next in our next class. We'll look at that as the first one and the most important one, because that is a defined question that most interviewers are going to be asking you. So let us look at that vizuri in our next class. That's either on Tuesday next week or Thursday next week. So,
okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay, I think that's it for today. Thank you guys for your time. We'll look at any other questions that maybe you've sent in that I've not had a chance at looking at and respond. Joseph, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Lucy, for your time and for all who attended the lesson today. We wish to continue this way. At least the class was interactive today, and I can see you still wish to learn more from whatever our facilitators are giving us. So keep it locked here, and as I have said, just keep looking. Looking in your mail so that you don't miss the links that are sent for your invitation. With that, I wish you a nice evening and keep safe. Thank you.
All right, thank you as well. Everyone have a good night.
Bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night. Thank you.